Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here today on the Mindset and Motivation Monday. It's hopefully going to be a great week here on the Cabral Concept. My goal is to provide you with actionable tips every single day that will move your mind, body, and spirit in the right direction. So my goal on this Monday show is to be able to share with you why you may be tying your self-worth right now to things that begin to move you into a poor mood, lower mood, anxiety, overwhelm, irritability, and depression. And I don't want that for you. And honestly, this is something that we often inflict on ourselves. And that's the hardest part, is that oftentimes we are our own worst enemy. But if you can begin to just simply become more self-aware, because you may not know that you're actually doing this right now, but when you become more self-aware, life changes. And that's because you get to then decide, as you realize how you may be judging yourself, if this is what you want for yourself. And I don't believe that it is. If we start to look at what we are all after, which is contentment, it's peace in life, it's finding some type of joy, and it's maybe living a life worthwhile, that we feel it has meaning, it has purpose, and that we're somewhat passionate about what it is here we're doing on earth. I think that that's what we're looking for. Now, the opposite of that, though, is how we judge ourselves on a daily basis. And how we judge ourselves determines our self-worth. So if we feel we did well in something, well, we give ourselves a grade, and that improves our self-worth. But at the same time, if you're judging yourself on that same thing and you do worse, or you have other areas of your life that you're not doing as well, then you give yourself a lower grade. And that lower grade then does what? Well, it lowers your self-worth. So then we look at our total life and we say, okay, well, what's most important? And if what you view as most important is a place where you're getting a poor grade that you've given yourself, well, then you feel less happy, that you feel further away from the life that you were meant to live. And so before we decide if those things were even important or not, we need to discover, what are we judging ourselves on, and to stop tying our self-worth to it. So I'm going to go through my top 10 with you. You may have others. And so I want you to understand that this list is always subjective and it's personal for you. So please do personalize it. Just like we believe all health and all medicine should be bio-individual, means personalized for you. And the same thing with your mental health. And everyone needs to be watching their mental health, not just those who may have a diagnosed depression or whatever it may be that they've been told by a doctor. And I look at it the same way I look at a health-based disease. If you're told you have depression, you have to find out why. And you can't blame it on genetics. Genetics is only one part of it, right? If I'm told that I had Addison's disease back in the day, if I had an autoimmune issue, if I had type 2 diabetes, all these things, well, okay, I was diagnosed with the disease, but why? Why did I have those things? And then if you begin to discover the why, then you can uncover how to actually eliminate those things from your life. And you never have to have them again. So I am disease-free in my body. No more Addison's, no more autoimmune, no more type 2 diabetes, no more POTS, no more allergies, no more any of those things. But it's only because I have the same genetics, it's only because I uncover the why. I continue to peel back the onion until I figured out what that underlying root cause is. And it's not different from mental health. It's not. It's just psychologists and psychiatrists have not necessarily been trained, not all of them, some of them have, into uncovering what it is. And it's typically part psychological, but also part physiological. It's really difficult to have the brain be totally healthy if the body is not. And that is why we've worked with so many people in our practice with mental health imbalances, is a better way to say it than disorders or diseases. And it's because they were lacking methylated B vitamins, magnesium. Maybe they had poor sleep. Maybe they weren't exercising. Now, it could be a whole list of things. And the nice thing is, when you follow something like the de-stress protocol, when you follow that, you don't need to be perfect in any one area. You can be like 80%. That's good. So you don't have to only be right 8 out of 10 times, right? So that's how we look at it. But let's look right now as to what you might be tying your self-worth to that you can immediately do something about, all right? The first one is this. It's your job. I'm telling you right now, whether you love your job or don't like your job, however you view your job, please don't tie that to your self-worth. Okay? Because what can happen is you could lose that job. Or if you don't like your job, you can get another one. And then if you ride the highs and lows all throughout life, it's not going to be an ideal situation. So work towards having a job you love. I mean, you spend so much of your life doing it, right? Like you spend, how much of your day do you spend doing it? A third at least, right? You spend a third of your day and half of your waking day at your job. So if you spend half of your waking hours at your work, try to continue to move up to a position that you actually enjoy, doing something that you love. All right. The second one is your weight, your actual physical weight. Whether you are underweight, overweight, or at whatever you feel is your ideal weight, you don't want to tie your self-worth to that because, again, it can change, but also who's to tell you, right? Because this is typically other people's views. We even grow up like we think our view is our own view. Our view is often what our community that we grew up in taught us to believe, and especially our parents and those people close to us, right? So as an adult, we have to decide, do I still want to hold this belief? The answer is yes or no. And if it's no, it doesn't mean you're going to change it overnight, but at least now you're more self-aware, like whose belief is this? Is this my belief? Is it my belief, right? No, maybe not. And that's the thing about weight. I do believe there is a healthy weight. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm a clinician. Like, this is my work. And yes, I can tell you that people over a specific BMI, then BMI is in regards to about 99% of the population. I understand that it doesn't apply to about 1% of the population or even less than 1%. But and overall, there is a healthy weight. But that healthy weight for any given height can swing about 40 pounds. So it's like, is your weight okay at 40 pounds above the lowest end healthy weight? Yes. It is. Like, you get to decide at that point what you choose it to be. Don't let your weight be tied to your self-worth. And even furthermore, don't let anybody tell you what weight you should have to weigh, right? You decide, first of all, if you want to be within the healthy weight zone. And then after that, where you want to be, right? Like that's the truth, right? But we all get to decide, no matter what, not tied to your self-worth. And I'm going to go into a little bit more of that at the end because weight is a big thing that we work on with people in our practice. All right, relationships. Here's the thing. When you're in a great relationship, that person complements. That's the ideal. They complement your life and you complement theirs. But if your life is only adequate and okay and great if they are in it, that's a challenge. We want you to be enjoying your life, having a great life, and then your partner or whoever you're in a relationship with complements that and only makes it great, only makes it better. Like that's what you're looking for, from great to greater with that person in your life. But if for whatever reason you were to break up or whatever it might be, was that your self-worth? Was a relationship or being in a relationship, did that determine your self-worth? So ideally, you have two strong, independent people who know their self-worth, come together and complement each other, not necessarily be dependent on one another. Number 4, if you're in school or you're studying for some type of certification, your test scores do not denote your self-worth. If a passing grade was 70 and you got a 78, it doesn't mean that you are not bright and intelligent and all of those things. It was one test, one class, one grade, whatever it might be. And again, you may be upset by that because you are most likely comparing yourself to other people. Some of those people, yes, they may have got 100 or in the 90s, 99th percentile. Some of them, though, may have gotten to the 50s. So do you look down upon those people and judge those people then as less smart than you? And do you judge the people above you as more smart than you? That's where the judgment game comes in. It is not helpful. Because one day you're in the 90s and another day then you're in the 70s or lower. And on the days that you're in the 70s, tied your self-worth to your score, you feel terrible, right? The days you're in the 90s, you feel great because you're looking down upon other people. You don't want to do that. If you're in the 90s, you can say, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, this is amazing, I studied, I worked, I got a good grade. Sometimes you study, sometimes you work, and you don't get a good grade. Again, if we tie that then to our self-worth, we feel bad about ourselves. I'm gonna really pull this together at the end, so I don't want to give that all away right now, but keep that in mind. The fifth one is your online following. I would have never said this 5 years ago. Like, that's the wild thing about the world that we live in, right? Over the last 5 years, definitely the last 5 years, I know it's been much longer than that now. If I think about it, it's been probably, 8 years or so? Yeah, probably about 7, 8 years that something like an Instagram, and I know that that's going to change and it will be dated if you're listening to this show 10 years from now, where it was like, originally it might have been like MySpace, and then after that it might have been more like Facebook, and different things like that. So these things all change and migrate, but it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, social media, right? And so we judge ourselves based on how many people liked our post. How many followers or subscribers do we have? Again, make great content. Post what you love. We'll talk more about that. Don't base your self-worth on how many followers you have, because again, if you have 150 followers, that's amazing. It's only not amazing when you decide to compare it to someone who has 1.5 million followers, right? So we have to be careful with that judgment and comparison game. The next one is your age. It's something that we can't control, right? Your chronological age is not something you control. Biological age, yes. Chronological age, no. Are you less worthy if you're a teenager? No. Are you less worthy as a 20-year-old in your first few jobs and first few main years of working compared to someone who's been working for 20 years? No. Different strengths, different skill sets, different way of viewing the world, right? Are you less worthy, in terms of overall relationships and the world and all that if you're 50? No, of course not, right? And so we have to stop looking at age as something that denotes our self-worth. I just read I don't know how I have never found out about this individual before, but he's 93 years old. I'll probably do a podcast on him. His name's Lew Hollander, I believe is his name. Lew Hollander, it's L-E-W for Lew. 93 years old, still does triathlons. The man is, an absolute machine and testament of mindset. Didn't even start this, I think, until his maybe 60s or so. It's a remarkable story. I'll probably do a Friday review on his book and other things as well, kind of a biography on his life. But again, age is strictly a number. You decide what it means. Number 7 is your family. We don't always control the families we came from, right? Some of our family is amazing, some not so much. Some family members, maybe not so much, right? And others, phenomenal. But we have to be careful how we look at family in general. And if we believe that, we are going to be a specific product based on who our family members are, and also decided okay, this is the family I came from. This means that I am X, Y, and Z, or destined for X, Y, and Z. Be very careful of that. Again, another thing that could boost your self-worth too high or drop it down too low. Either way, you have to be careful. You never want to ride that wave, and that includes judgment. The 8th one is income. Pretty self-explanatory. Most people say, hey, the more money I make, the greater self-worth I have. To be careful with that as well, because there's always going to be someone who's wealthier, right? If you make $50,000 a year, someone's making $100,000. If you make $100,000, someone's making $1 million. If you make $1 million, someone's making $10 million. If you make $10 million, someone's making $100 million. If you make $100 million, someone's making $1 billion, right? You have to be really careful with that. And so as you hit in certain marks in terms of your income, you have to be careful that you don't say, well, yeah, I'm not really making that much because this person makes X, Y, and Z. Again, what matters to you? When we start comparing ourselves to others, dangerous game. The 9th one is very similar to your income, and it's your home. It's your home, nobody else's. It literally doesn't matter if it's a studio apartment. Who's to say that determines your self-worth? Maybe you want to live in a studio apartment. Maybe it's all you can afford right now. Maybe it's all you can afford right now because you're putting yourself through school, or you've got kids that you're trying to support. You're a single parent. Who's to say, right? Who's to say? To me, that would be like, that's a lot of self-worth. You're paying for a studio apartment, single parent, putting your kids through school, working multiple jobs. That to me, that's high self-worth. But I know a lot of people may say that's low self-worth. Again, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So I think we have to be careful with the subjective viewpoint. And the 10th one is your appearance. We all get older, right? We all have different looks. We were born with a certain eye color, nose size, face size, body size. These things we can only change to varying degrees, and then we all age. And as we age, the collagen in our skin begins to break down, right? The elasticity in our skin begins to weaken. Now, some of these things we can do things about, and some not as much. And you can do whatever you want. I'm actually a believer in that, meaning clients ask me, hey, should I be using these new skin creams or whatever it is in conjunction with some internal based protocols and modalities? No problem with that. If that's an interest of yours, go for it. There's nothing wrong with looking in the mirror and saying, oh, I'm feeling younger or whatever it might be. Nothing wrong with trying to keep up with that. Just never tie your self-worth to your appearance, because we're all going to age. Now, there are some remarkable things happening. I will talk about that in skin-based rejuvenation, and they're probably only a decade away or so. But regardless, if you do take advantage of one of these breakthroughs in the next 10 years or so, which can reset the clock on skin by about 20 years, don't feel better about yourself, right, because of your appearance. Do that because you feel so youthful inside and have so much energy inside, you want the outside to match. That is how I look at it. Okay. Those are my top 10 that I want you to be careful of tying your self-worth to. Please feel free in the comments below. I would love you to leave additional ones because I know that I'm leaving some out. Okay. So if you are going to tie your self-worth to something, even though I believe in non-judgment, especially of self, and how do you achieve non-judgment of self? I've done a whole podcast on that, so we'll try to link it up. It was an older one, but we'll try to link it up at stephencabral.com/2663 today. So what I would say is this. The more you judge things in life, the more you are judged. The Bible, every religion has said this. And it's not meant to be esoteric or meta. It's meant to be this. The more you are even thinking about judgment or judging things, the more then you are worried about others judging you because you're judging everything else. This was me. This was literally me all throughout my entire life until my 30s. But it's basically just a cultural thing that I grew up in, not specific to my family. It's this is just what people did. They judged everything as good or bad. So I had to just break that. All I had to do, and I don't want to give away the whole other podcast because it goes in depth, but you have to become self-aware that you're actually judging in the first place. And then you have to cancel that thought over and over and over, and so it doesn't become part of your wiring anymore. Now, I can't completely eliminate it. I'm human, but certainly you can do it a remarkable job. Okay, so now if we have to tie our self-worth to just a couple things, this is what I would tie my self-worth to. And again, I would love to hear in the comments, what would you tie yours to, right? What would make you feel better about you? The first one is this. Am I being my authentic self? That's the first one. So am I showing up every day, not compromising who I am, not saying things on a podcast or to my teams because I believe it's how I should act or the world wants me to act or it is the political thing to do, whatever it might be, right? For whether you're on either side, in the middle, whatever it might be. Because if you are compromising who you are, ultimately you're willing to compromise on almost anything. But if you show up every day with the understanding that you're not perfect, you're going to make mistakes, you're probably going to change your mind on a few things in the future, but staying open to it and being authentic, I think that's something that could feel good on a daily basis. I'm not perfect. I'm grateful for the life I have. Could be better in some areas. Actively working towards it. And things could always be worse. I'm thankful. That is a great mindset, I believe, to go through life. And I kind of gave away point number 2. And it was I'm actively working towards it. So, although I do not want you to judge yourself on your job or weight or relationships or test scores or any of those things, there is something that you can not judge yourself on, but be self-aware to check yourself on. And that's, am I putting in the work to make my hopes, dreams, aspirations, and goals come true? Because I think in life, we get upset that we haven't achieved a certain dream, goal, aspiration, or hope, right? But if we're honest and we ask ourselves, should we have achieved it? Have we actively worked towards it? If so, was it once a month, once a week, or was it every day? And it's my belief that we really can't achieve anything that we're looking to in this life. The problem is that sometimes the timeline isn't just exactly what we thought it would be. Like sometimes, let's say you're 50 pounds overweight and it's a goal of yours that you want to get down your weight. Okay. Well, you didn't do it in the 5 or 6 months that you thought you would. Okay. But that's why don't judge yourself on your weight. Judge yourself on, have you cleaned up your nutrition? Yes or no? How many days per week? Right? Like how consistent is it? Okay. Have you added in 7,500 to 10,000 steps a day? Yes or no? How many days a week? Okay. Have you added an exercise program? Yes or no? How many days per week? And we can just kind of go down the list. And if you're doing the right things, not perfect, but doing the right things, that's the self-worth. You're working towards it. The end goal can't always be how you judge yourself. It doesn't always work out on the timeline that we're looking for, but I'm telling you right now, I don't think I've ever met anybody who hasn't achieved a goal that they've set for themselves where they've stuck to it long enough. That's it. Sometimes we just don't stick to it long enough. We don't understand that as we work the process, we begin to figure out it's not just diet and exercise for weight loss. It's hormones, it's metabolic rate, it's thyroid, it's vitamin D, it's cortisol levels, right? It's like there's way more to this equation than just calories in, calories out. And then eventually you find that person that can help you with that. The same thing for your job. You realize oh, you're looking at this in an entirely wrong way. Or you decide the field that you're in right now, even though you went to college for it, is not a field that you love. Okay, probably not overnight that you're going to be able to transition into another job, but you can still do it, right? And so it might take you a year or two. But okay, you can work towards that. And this goes for literally anything in your life. That's why I say this. As long as you are living an authentic life and actively working towards a goal that is worthwhile for your time, you will find happiness. You will find peace. You will find prosperity. And that should be more of your self-worth than any of the other things that I've listed. Hopefully today's show was helpful. I thank you, I appreciate you, and as always, do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.